Warren County, we're a real special county in west central Indiana.
Warren County, Indiana has many attractions, including parks, waterfalls, and other places to visit. So come on and swing on by to Warren County, Indiana and give us a visit. Do it now.
That was part of a radio ad that I heard earlier in the day. And since I was in the area and had some time, I thought I'd come check out the place. Warren County is the third least populated county in the state. It's also the second lowest ranked Indiana county when going by population density. Only Benton County has fewer people per square mile, and Benton County borders Warren County to the north. So yeah, this part of Indiana is pretty much the most secluded part of the state. Depending on where you are in Warren County, the closest city that will have all of the shopping that anyone would need would either be Lafayette or Danville, Illinois. Forming the west border of Warren County is the Illinois-Indiana state line, while the southeast boundary follows along the almighty Wabash River with all of its fame and glory. The main highway through Warren County would be the super-duper Hoosier Mega Highway, which is a 4-lane highway that spans all the way from Gary down to Evansville. Here, though, it's kind of weird, because US 41 mostly follows the highway throughout the state, from north to south, but in Warren County, US 41 splits away from the divided highway and it becomes State Route 63. Other highways would be State Routes 28 and 26, with I-74 passing by just south of Warren County. I start the video in State Line City. I'll also be checking out the towns of West Lebanon, Williamsport, Independence, and Green Hill in this video. State Line City, however, is only about 10 minutes northeast of Danville, Illinois, and this is what the place looks like today. This is State Line City, and that's what used to be a couple of shops, I'm assuming. Can't even see the front of this building here with all of the vegetation that has grown over. Now that's some good gravel road driving right there. Yeah, look at that filth. Look at that filth. One thing I couldn't help but notice at State Line City Park is this sign right here. No littering, no glass in POUD. No alcoholic beverages, no fireworks, no motorized vehicles, no loud noises. Music. I think someone moved this sticker from that spot there. But not only is it on that sign, but this sign over here too. No loud music. No loud noises, no loud music. One thing that you're noticing probably is that it was sunny in that previous clip and now it's straight cloud cover. Well, that previous clip was from later in the day from when I filmed this when it was cloud cover, and that just shows you how the weather can change here, not only in Indiana, but across the entire Midwest. Yeah, it's not just Indiana, it's Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri. It's all the places here in the Midwest. You can have straight cloud cover, doom and gloom looking kind of day, and then it can be sunny just like that. Getting a look at what's left here of State Line City, there's some buildings that are just not in the best of shape. But yeah, State Line City, it started out with goals of being a major metropolis. Woodard Avenue was supposed to be the next 5th Avenue. And where Woodard meets the Illinois state line, that was supposed to be the next Times Square. State Line City was going to reinvent the U.S. entertainment industry. Now, I'm not sure where things fell apart, but somewhere along the way they did. I'm guessing it was only shortly after 1877. As you can imagine, there's not much available online about this place. Every website with an article is just a copy and paste job, one after another, including Wikipedia. However, as you can imagine, the railroad had something to do with State Line City becoming a city, or should I say a town. There's only one railroad that goes through town today, but there used to be two, the Wabash Railroad and the Great Western Railroad, and the town was laid out in 1857 at the intersection of the railroads. It was laid out by Robert Casement. Since it is on the state line with Illinois, it's only fair to assume that Abraham Lincoln stopped here once, right? Just like he seemingly did with every city in Illinois? Well, back on February 11th, 1861, Abraham Lincoln came to State Line City, Indiana. He basically said, "Hi and bye. I'll wait until Indianapolis to give a more well-thought-out speech because State Line City is below my level. It's a dinky little town that's home to only a couple hundred people. So yeah, I'll save my best stuff for the big city. Peace. I'm out." What a douche nozzle. I'm telling you guys, many of you think that Lincoln was the best president ever. Well, he showed his true colors when he came and spoke in State Line City, Indiana back in 1861. So I don't want to hear about how great he is or how historically significant it was when he came and spoke in BFE, whatever county seat of Illinois. Yeah, because we all know who he really is now. All jokes aside, what's not a laughing matter is that State Line City today appears to be on the verge of disappearing. Today, only about 120 people live in State Line City, whereas 550 or so lived here back in the late 1800s. The town never grew to be anything more than a few blocks, and if we can go back to that 1877 map, you can see that the entire northeast section of town is no longer here. Rather, it's just a farm field. This whole town might be just a field in a century from now, or maybe not. Only time will tell. Lastly, before we move on to our next Warren County town, State Line City apparently was a popular spot for drinking and gambling among railroad workers upon being established in the late 1800s, which then caused State Line City to have a negative reputation. I ended up stopping at this park, this Warren County, Fleming Woods County Park. Fleming Woods County Park, I guess. Fleming Woods County Park. Recently opened park apparently, opened in 2021. It's only the second county park, which makes sense when you consider that the county has less than 10,000 people living in it. More on the economic stats later. Well, Fleming Woods County Park sits right outside of West Lebanon, which has a population of 678. Good for being the second largest town in Warren County. West Lebanon was platted out all the way back in 1830 under the original name of Lebanon. The name changed to West Lebanon when the town was incorporated back in 1859, with the name change likely due to the fact that there was already a Lebanon, Indiana, and that one was much larger. West Lebanon, Indiana. Sad looking place if I do say so myself. Saw this place on Google Maps when I was just looking around seeing what Warren County is all about, and couldn't help but really want to explore this place. And then I come here and the road is closed for construction, the main road, but people seem to be driving on it anyway, so I'm gonna do the same. As you heard me say, I thought that it was a pretty sad looking town at first. Makes sense after learning that back in 2011 there was a fire that destroyed most of the buildings on the west side of High Street, or the side that's to our right. Here's a Google Street View shot from 2008, and then 2015, and then 2023. West Lebanon's population peaked at 946 in 1980. The town has lost 300 people or so since then. The median value of an owner-occupied home in West Lebanon is $94,600. The average commute time to work? 33 minutes. The poverty rate is only 3%, and the median household income is $74,500, so the majority of people in West Lebanon must be farmers or work in Lafayette maybe, which is 45 minutes away. Safe to assume that a lot of people who still live here are West Lebanon lifers and are retired, maybe, as the median age of a West Lebanon resident is 53 years old. That's how a lot of these towns go in the rural Midwest, especially the more isolated ones. Danville, Illinois is actually the closest decently sized city, which is a 30-minute drive to the southwest, versus Lafayette being a 45-minute drive to the northeast. What makes me worry about the future of these towns, though, like towns like West Lebanon, is the fact that the median age of the residents, once again, here in West Lebanon, 53 is the median age. Generally speaking, young people have no desire to stick around towns like these where there's nowhere to get a job. Many of these towns just got broadband internet a few years ago. Go anywhere in the Wabash Valley covered with trees and hills on both sides, yeah, good luck getting any cell phone service in this digital world. I mean, there's a few millennials who have an interest in farming and are willing to take over the long-owned family farm, but there's not as many of those kinds of people today as there were in prior generations. People want access to the internet, and they want to be able to pursue a career that satisfies their creativity, satisfies their desire to be something in this world. And West Lebanon doesn't fit the bill for a lot of these young people. And if you're one of the 600 or so West Lebanon residents, or if maybe you have family ancestry from here and this place is special to you, I'm not picking on West Lebanon. This is the case with all of these rural towns that are isolated from the larger cities. This is happening everywhere. Young people leaving, older generations getting older and eventually dying off, nobody coming in to replace them in the population for that town because nobody wants to move there because there's no opportunity there. You have to wonder about the long-term future of a lot of these towns. You just do. Here's an 1877 map of West Lebanon. This is interesting because it shows the original town being a mile or so south of what was then the new town. The quote-unquote newer town is the part that we just drove through. The old town was located 1 mile south of where they built the new town. Today there's nothing really to look at with Old Town in terms of historic buildings, that is. It looks like your ordinary country corner. What was then called Main Street is now called County Road 400 South. There's still a Church Street, a Water Street, and of course a High Street, which is the real Main Street for West Lebanon. The reason why the town relocated is because when the Wabash Railroad was built through the area in 1856, it bypassed West Lebanon a mile to the north. These photos here are of the old train station, followed by a newspaper clipping of an old train wreck nearby in 1912. Speaking of train wrecks, let's head on over to the town of Green Hill. Yeah, not really a train wreck here, I just needed something to transition with, although this doesn't help their case. Hey dude, what's up? Green Hill is in the extreme northeastern portion of the county, and it too has an 1877 map. What stands out here is not only how Green Hill was never anything more than a really tiny town, but also how many of these individual lots that were drawn out no longer exist. The old map shows how there was a store, and how there was Dr. Moore, and how there was a drugstore. Yeah, not anymore. And that's okay, I mean, it was never anything more than a dinky little 2 or 3 block town, but it was definitely something that resembled a town at one point in time. Today almost everybody has a set of 4 wheels to take them anywhere that they need to go, and there's only a few people that live here anymore anyway. Plus, it's really close to Lafayette, West Lafayette, only a 20-minute drive to the east per Google Maps. 20 minutes to the Live Well dance studio, that is. There are some remnants here of some buildings that appear to have once been home to some locally owned businesses or maybe a fire station or something. Hard to tell what these buildings could have been. As you can imagine, there's not much information on these dinky little towns. You've heard me say it before in this video, but Wikipedia claims that the first store opened in 1833, and shortly after, there was a liquor store, a blacksmith, a grocery store, a tannery, a shoemaker, a wagon maker, and a few others. A post office opened up in 1837, and it was named Poolsville after the town's first physician, Dr. Poole. But here's where Wikipedia loses its credibility, because it says that it was named Poolsville until August 14th, 1904, but the map that I showed you from 1877 says that the town's name is Green Hill. Although, this 1877 map of Warren County calls it both Green Hill and Poolsville, so who knows? Wikipedia continues to not do itself any justice, as it not only says that it was called Poolsville from 1833 to 1904, but also how the name changed from Milford to Green Hill in 1867.
Bruh.
Talk about confusing. Hopefully there's no third grade area school teachers that give this material to a kid and then test them on it. Yeah, that would mess them up. But at least they provided this 1877 map, so that's all good and dandy. From here, we're going to jump into a portal and head over towards Williamsport, which is the county seat, and is the largest municipality in Warren County. Before we talk about Williamsport, I'll go over the economic stats for Warren County, and then those for Williamsport. Here's the population history for Warren County, seeing a peak population of 11,300 or so back in 1900, and ever since then, the population has casually dropped down to 8,500. Good for being the third lowest population for a county in Indiana today. Only Ohio and Union counties, which border the state of Ohio, have a lower count. The median household income in Warren County is $72,800 per year, while only 19% of adults 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher, which is very typical of agricultural-dependent rural areas. I mean, why the heck go to college if you're the next in line in taking over the family farm or the family business? And if you do go to college, why the heck stick around in an area that has no opportunities to take advantage of your college degree? So, not a bad thing necessarily, just a cultural thing. Next up is the median value of owner-occupied homes, which is very low at $151,000. Lastly, the poverty rate is 9%, so not bad. For Williamsport, the town has never had more people living in it than it has right now, with a population of 1,950. The median household income is $62,800, and you have to wonder how many people live here and commute to Lafayette, which is 30 minutes away. Warren County is technically a part of the Lafayette metro area despite its rural feel everywhere you go, but the U.S. Census defines a metro area as having a city with 50,000 or more people, in which Lafayette does have, and a metro area includes counties that meet the specified requirements of commuting to or from the central counties, and in Warren County's case, that central county would be Tippecanoe County where Lafayette is, so that means that a significant amount of the working residents in Warren County commute to the Lafayette area for work, which in return means that Williamsport is a suburb of Lafayette. Yeah, so if you're a Williamsport prideful, you're really not your own independent city. You're just a suburb of Lafayette. Yeah, how does that make you feel? Let me know in the comments below. Just kidding, people of Williamsport. I know that makes some people riled up, which is why I said it, because it's fun. All right, well, despite being a really small town, Williamsport is nearly 200 years old, being established on December 11th, 1828, making it one of the older towns in all of Indiana. Makes sense as it's located along the Wabash River, in which large navigable rivers were the fastest mode of transportation during that time. Williamsport was the home of James Frank Hanley. What up, James Frank? Who was the governor of Indiana from 1905 to 1909. Williamsport was the county seat of Warren County from the very beginning, as it was really the only sizable town, just like it is now. I've mentioned before in the video how Indiana loves their Wabash River, so much so that the state song is called On the Banks of the Wabash, which is thought to be written by Paul Dresser while he was visiting Williamsport. Here's an 1877 map of Williamsport, which is just neat to look at if anything. Attica is the larger town today, and it's located not that far east of here, and just a little bit further upstream along the Wabash. U.S. Highway 41 connects the two? Sort of. Otherwise, the Wabash Erie Canal was significant in Williamsport's economic development when it was first starting up. The town's name comes from William Harrison, who constructed a cutoff canal which connected Williamsport to the Wabash and Erie Canal. Williamsport's nickname early on was Side Cut City due to the side cut cutoff from the main canal. Here's an old photo of downtown Williamsport with Model Ts lining the street, so the photograph must have been taken in the early 1900s. I'm thinking any time from 1910 to 1930. Today, Williamsport is mostly known for Williamsport Falls, which is the tallest waterfall in Indiana. Nothing was falling on the day that I visited, which was disappointing. The waterfall must only be on full display after a decent rainfall or something. It's located right in the middle of Williamsport behind a row of dilapidated buildings, but it looks like there's a cool eating spot at the end of this row. There's not much signage for it, but there's a gravel path that leads to a small parking lot area where you can walk over to the viewing area for the falls. The falls are made up of a small creek called Fall Branch, which of course empties into the Wabash. Looking up some of the latest headlines to come out of Warren County, and there's not much. The first story is unfortunate. Not sure what Westfield has to do with Warren County, but the third story? Yeah. Classic headline out of Indiana. An argument turned to be too violent in the Walmart parking lot. Hope the victim's alright. That must have been somewhere nearby, maybe in Lafayette, since there is no Walmart in Warren County. Otherwise, there's not much to Warren County, Indiana, other than a few other towns the size of Green Hill and State Line City. And if you wish, you can check out all of the footage that I filmed but didn't use in this video on my second channel called Chris Harden's Travel Archives, and the link for that video will be down below once it's uploaded. Well, people, it is now that time.
You can't always trust the livability score from areavibes.com, but you can always trust Chris's livability score. Education.
Rural areas aren't necessarily known for devoting their best resources to the schools, but it's not that bad here. Back in 1973, Pine Village, West Lebanon, and Williamsport consolidated into one school district that serves the entire county, which makes sense as the population. Seeger Memorial Junior-Senior High School is a mile or so north of West Lebanon in the middle of some fields. 32% of students are proficient in math, 55% are proficient in reading, and 38% are proficient in science. All of those numbers are higher than the Indiana state average, so Warren County? Yeah, you might want to slow down on your academia here, because you're going to make all of your students academic nuts, and they're going to want to express their creativity and put their well-sought-out Warren County knowledge to use as they grow older, and they're not going to want to come back and live in Warren County because there are no jobs to be had here at all. How's that for a backhanded compliment? Education gets a 14 out of 20.
Crime.
Crime is next, and that's not an issue here at all. That's the best thing about Warren County, is that a homicide happens here once every 70 years or so. Drug usage is a problem here, as it is everywhere in the US, but Indiana is one of the worst states year in and year out for drug usage per capita. However, this map here shows that Warren County is actually one of the better off counties in the state in that category. Less people, less problems, I suppose. Crime gets a 20 out of 20.
Downtown.
This is awkward. I'm doing this for a county this time instead of a city. Well, hey, look. There's downtown West Lebanon, which looks dead as ever, and then there's downtown Williamsport, which is okay. Nothing too special. Neither downtown offers that much to do. Both have a library. But Williamsport has at least a few shops, a few restaurants, and Indiana's tallest waterfall when it feels like showing off, that is. Downtown gets a 3 out of 20.
Economy.
There's a reason why nobody is moving here, and the population is aging. That's because there are no jobs. Sure, there's plenty of farmers who can pay the bills with farming their fields, but land nowadays for people who don't get it passed down to them from family members is absurd. $1.5 million for 89 acres, which includes a home that has 1,860 square feet of living space. Yeah, no thanks on that. Otherwise, anybody who doesn't desire to be a manager at the local gas station has to either move or commute half an hour to Lafayette. The only thing keeping the economy score from being lower here is how the poverty rate in the county itself is really low, and the median household income here is higher than I thought it was going to be. Well, economy gets a 2 out of 20.
Recreation.
Recreational opportunities are limited here, although there are some nice hiking trails here and there, including the one at Williamsport Falls. Plus, you can always kayak the Wabash down to Evansville if you wanted to. You'll have to drive quite a ways to get to a state park in Illinois. There's Kickapoo State Park on the other side of Danville, and Lafayette has a decent park system too, but those are not in Warren County, so recreation gets a 3 out of 20.
History.
Not much significant history has happened here at all, other than maybe the state song of Indiana being written in Williamsport. A building in Indianapolis has more history than Warren County does. Williamsport is also one of the oldest cities in the state, but it's not like anything too crazy has been documented in this town over the 200-year stretch. One thing I didn't mention earlier was the Potawatomi Trail of Death. The trail passed through Warren County on its way from Twin Lakes, Indiana to southwest of Kansas City, and there's a marker by a creek out in the middle of some private land. Anyway, history gets a 3 out of 20.
Amenities.
Those are far and few in between in Warren County. You can probably count on one hand the amount of places that there are to get some groceries while staying within the county limits. There's only 2 gas stations in Williamsport, 1 gas station in West Lebanon, and there's only 1 other gas station in Warren County outside of those 2 towns. West Lebanon only has a few stores, Williamsport has a few more stores, while the Lafayette and Danville areas have more of what people would need when it comes to shopping. Amenities gets a 1 out of 20.
Cost of living.
This is the last category in the Chris Livability score, and Indiana has lower property taxes than any of its neighboring states. In Warren County, the median value of an owner-occupied home from 2017 to 2022, according to the U.S. Census, is $151,000. Just don't buy 89 acres of farmland for $1.5 million and you should be good to go. Cost of living gets a 20 out of 20. All in all, the Chris Livability score for Warren County, Indiana is 66 out of 160, which ties it with nearby West Terre Haute, along with Belglade, Florida, and ranks it in the upper bottom tier out of all of the places that I've done this for so far. Is Warren County a place for you? Well, it depends on what you value. Warren County is great for having low crime and decent schools, but the lack of civilization around you, the overall lifeless environment, it might suck the life out of some people. Well, hey, I made a video on Danville, Illinois, which is one of the nearby larger towns that I've referenced throughout this video, where people in Warren County can go for any kind of decent shopping, but Danville is not heading down a good path. It's a city that has lost many manufacturing jobs over the years, along with the decline of the coal mining industry, so if you would like, you can watch a video to see what happened to the once prospering city of Danville, Illinois, right here. Peace.